Hey, Cavs fans, welcome to another episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard Cavs fans. Corey here with you, along with Alex. AP,
what's up,
how you
Corey?
doing, man?
How's it going,
how you
man?
Been? Good.
Been good.
What have you been up to?
I just got back from vacation. Did a little
Did you get a tan?
Traveling.
No tan?
Did I get a tan? The typical Ohio farmer's tan, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though I traveled overseas, we went to Slovenia and Croatia and Austria.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that's where my father-in-law was born, over in Croatia. And he's always been wanting to go back. He immigrated to the U.S. when he was like 12, 13 years old. And he's always wanted to go back, see his childhood home and where his grandparents grew up, or his grandparents' farm. And so that's where we went. We went and traveled Slovenia and Croatia and did a little jaunt into Austria and just visited a lot of castles and, drank some good wine, had some great food, scenic views everywhere. Absolutely beautiful everywhere.
That's awesome. I'm guessing that was your first time there, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've never been there before.
Yeah.
I've been to, Western Europe before, Germany, France, Luxembourg, Belgium. I've been through there, but this was my first time Southern Europe.
That's awesome. I wish I would have asked you before now where you were at, because I knew you were out of town, but I didn't ask you where you went. I wonder if any Cavs players have ever come from any of those areas. You know what I mean? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I got to bet there's at least one.
Yeah,
right?
Probably. Man, that would have been a good question.
That would have been a good question. That would have been a good trivia question right there. But that's awesome. That's a great experience. That's a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you're never going to forget, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure your family won't either. The whole family went? Kids and everything?
Back. Yeah, we all went. There were 6 of us, and rented our rental car was this BMW, like, huge vehicle. It was like a extended station wagon, and I did all the driving, and I drove up through the east side of the Alps to get into Austria. So that was an experience.
Do they drive on the right side of the road or the wrong side?
They do drive on the right side. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And cool. Roundabouts everywhere.
Yeah.
Typical Europe.
That's awesome.
But it was a good time. They do use the euro. The borders are wide open. I mean, driving from Slovenia to Croatia to Austria was, I think going into Austria, they checked our passports, but Slovenia and Croatia were both wide open.
That's awesome. That's a heck of an experience right there. That's different than your typical, hey, we're going to the beach for the week, for vacation. Yeah. Like I said, that's a once in a lifetime experience.
We did do a beach day.
Was there a castle on the beach though? No, if there were sand castles, that's okay. If you made sand castles.
With Europe, man, everything is like, the history there is incredible, right? Because it's way older than, before they settled the United States. So, going to all these castles, every castle had a museum, and it had, medieval knights armor and coins and just anything you could imagine as far as history goes, all the way back from the Ottoman Empire and being invaded by the Turks, and these castles were built and destroyed and built and destroyed every time a new invading regime came in. So like Slovenia, the west coast of it, which borders Italy, was destroyed by Caesar and the Roman Empire and rebuilt. And so there's a lot of Venetian architecture along that coast. So it's just absolutely beautiful.
That's awesome.
And the beach, they don't have like the sandy beaches like we have. Their beaches are almost more like a peat gravel, kind of very small rocks, like couple. Yeah, it's kind of weird, kind of different.
Hard to make sandcastles then. Hard to make sandcastles.
Yeah, you're not making sandcastles.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was an amazing trip overall. I'd recommend it to anybody. I'd say a good portion of the people spoke English, like very serviceable English. Like,
that's good.
Anybody our age or younger spoke English, and anybody kind of older than us, it was hit or miss or a struggle. But right. I think they're used to tourists. Most of the menus and everything also had a little underline in English. Getting around was real easy. Yeah, not bad at all. I only ran into one other American family there,
Really?
and it was pretty easy to spot the Americans versus the European tourists, right?
Right, right.
I won't say why, but you know, and so I ran into this one guy there, and I heard him say something to somebody. I was like, "Oh, you're American?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "Alaska." I said, "Oh, we're from
Jeez.
Ohio," and he goes, "Oh, my wife is from Ashtabula." So that was kind of crazy.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, good stuff, man. That's, again, a once in a lifetime experience and something you guys will never forget. So, Alex, a lot has definitely happened in the world of the NBA, and if for Cavs fans too, because now that the NBA Finals is over, the Denver Nuggets win their first championship in team history. Great story. Sorry, K-Love, you don't get another ring, but congrats on having your first kid. But I got real excited, Alex, once the finals ended because I knew what time it was. It was time for the offseason to actually truly begin. You started seeing some activity from teams, waiving players, extending players. Rumors start popping up, and the NBA draft had just happened, and the Cavs only had a single draft pick in the second round, the 49th pick, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But I wanted to get your opinion on the first rumor of a few different rumors we'll probably talk about, that the Cavs were trying to trade back into the first round, late into the first round. Obviously, they didn't do that. But when you saw that, heard that, where was your mind at? Were you on board with the Cavs trying to do that? Did you not want them to do that? What did you think?
No, I didn't. I didn't really see any purpose in the Cavs trading into the first round. We're in win now mode. Ever since we traded for Donovan Mitchell, I don't think bringing in some rookies from the draft isn't going to help us any. We need solid role players, veteran players on this team moving forward. Unless we were going to trade for a first round pick and then use that first round pick to trade for somebody else as some sort of long term goal. But
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't see any purpose in that. What do you think?
No, I'm right there with you. Again, we're in win now mode. We just made it to the playoffs, first time in team history without, since LeBron era, an 18-year-old kid. Like I need someone that can, contribute right away, be reliable, be consistent, that kind of thing. So I was kind of glad when it didn't work out. I heard the whole, well, maybe they'll flip it for somebody else too. I
Mm-hmm.
get it. As a Cavs fan, as a basketball fan in general, it's weird watching an NBA draft and really having no skin in the game until late in the second round. So Cavs fans, fans in general just get excited and worked up when like they see other teams doing things, grabbing players, and it's like it feels like we're missing out. When really you're not, because sure, people are fine with trading someone like a Chetty Osman or an Akuro or something like that, but you're trading that for something that's unknown, which I get the appeal, but at the same time, what if it's worse? What if it takes that player 2 to 3 years to find their place? What if they don't even crack the rotation because we're in win now mode? So I was fine with not making that trade. Um, and the Cavs stood pat with making their only selection in round two at the 49th pick. And Alex, you want to go ahead and, everybody probably knows by now, but who did the Cavs select and kind of do you have any initial opinion on who they selected?
Well, they selected Emoni Bates with the 49th pick. He was really hyped up in high school. I just remember the name, and he was on the cover of ESPN magazine, right? Being compared to Magic and Jordan and LeBron. And if the NBA still allowed high school players to be drafted, I'm pretty sure he would have been drafted pretty high in the draft right out of high school. But he went to college and seems like he struggled. He had some issues on and off the court, and just kind of fell out of the hype train. Kind of disappeared a little bit. So he's a reach at number 49. I guess lots of potential, but if he struggled in college, how well is he going to do in the pros? That's my big thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll say this: what I saw was a lot of excitement from Cavs fans. A lot of people saying they felt like he could potentially be the steal of the draft. Pretty sure there was people saying the same thing about Dylan Windler a few years back. And that's when the Cavs did trade back into the first round, by the way. I think they traded like 3 or 4 second round picks for that. So be careful what you say. But I get it, and on the other hand, I'll see some people saying like, I'll be surprised if he even steps foot on an NBA court this year, meaning, he'll be in that G League, kind of area. What I thought was interesting though, was Donovan Mitchell's comments. He seemed very high on him. He said he's known him for a few years now and he's going to be a big part of what we're doing. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going
I don't
to
know.
right away. I don't know if he's going to even make the roster and then crack that rotation afterwards.
Yeah.
But from the little I know and the highlight videos I've seen and stuff like that, I get the appeal from a Cavs fan perspective. He's got some size, he's got some height. He's only a buck 70, 6'10", a buck 70, so he's not, real muscular or anything like that, but he could score. And anytime you see somebody that can fill it up, it makes you excited, right?
Right.
So it's low risk, high reward potential. And at 49, anybody's, your guess is as good as mine kind of thing. Nobody's going to know whether he's going to work out or not. But hey, he's a Cleveland Cavalier now, and we'll be rooting for him, and we'll see what he could do.
Yeah, I'll be rooting for him. I feel like the deck is kind of stacked against him, though. He's, I did some research. I watched some highlight videos and such. And he seems like a good shooter. He needs to learn to pick his spots and take his shots in the flow of the game. Real lengthy, not super athletic. Has seemed to have a hard time finishing at the rim. I don't know. He's gonna have to put in a lot of work. But yeah, there is potential.
Yeah, I will say this: the one thing I did like was on Twitter, which I already gave him a follow. Alex, don't worry, from our page.
All right.
Was he said something along the lines of, thank you Cavs for giving me a chance, basically. Something along those lines. So I thought that was, good, and he seemed amped up, and hopefully he comes in, he's ready to work, and he's going to have a chance here in a little bit with Summer League right around the corner. We'll talk about that to make kind of his debut, and we'll be keeping an eye on him and see what he does. So, we'll see where he ends up this year. And, with second round draft picks, you're always kind of taking a risk, Alex, but there have been some good ones over the years, and the Cavs have had some good ones over the years as far as who they've drafted. And I figure a fun little segment would be to just kind of quickly go through and talk about some of the best second round draft picks in Cavs history. A couple caveats here. So when I was doing some research on this, for those old enough to remember or have gone back and looked at drafts from the 70s and 80s, they used to do like 10 rounds, Alex. It was freaking bonkers. So what I tried to do was, from Cavs franchise history, take anybody that was second round or later that either made an impact in a Cavs uniform or ended up making some sort of impact in their NBA career. Meaning, sorry, they're not Dylan Windler right now, right? They went on to have a career. They're a known name amongst the teams they played for, and so on and so forth.
Wow.
Okay?
So here's a question for you.
Sure.
So you went through every draft pick the Cavs made from round 2 or older.
Yes.
And you only documented the ones that made an impact. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So I kind of want to know the percentage of what you wrote down compared to who didn't make an impact versus how many did make an impact. Are we talking like 1 in 10, 1 in 20?
I'll say I spent close to 3 hours on doing my research on all of this.
All right.
So enough time to where I felt pretty good.
So did you go through like 500 names and write down 10? I guess that's what I'm getting at. Like,
no, it wasn't that crazy. It wasn't that crazy, but it was fun. I always like going back and just looking at old drafts and looking at stats and stuff like that. So this is right up my alley anyways. And the draft gives me an excuse to put this little segment together for us, and we'll go ahead and go through this, talk through it, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But the first and the last thing I'll say here too is I went in order from their existence to as current as I could. So just keep that in mind too. So if you're younger or you're not, you might have to wait a couple picks in till you hear any names you might recognize. But the first one I'm going with, 1974 draft, round 3, pick number 38 overall. So that's another thing that's crazy, Alex, too, is this is round 3 and it's only pick 38.
Mm-hmm.
So they must have only done like 12 picks around or something like that, 15 picks around or something crazy like that. But Foots Walker, guard, played for the Cavs for 6 years. I actually just got a card. I'm still doing the Cavs cards. I just got a card of him in the mail about a week or two ago. He played 6 years with the Cavs. He averaged 7 points, 5 assists. Okay. He went on to have a 10-year career, and his career average was 6.5 points and just shy of 5 assists at 4.7. So I wanted to put him on there because I have seen some people old enough on Twitter that every once in a while they'll give a shout out to Foots Walker. In a 10-year career, 3rd round pick. He was a nice player while he was in Cleveland for those few years, and he's the first one on our list, Alex.
Yeah, I was going to say I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about him. Like, I don't think I've even ever seen like a highlight clip.
I couldn't find highlight clips on him. It's 74.
Probably didn't
right?
exist.
It's kind of hard, but his real name is Clarence. He goes by Foots Walker, though. And like I said, he was a guard, and he was solid for the Cavs for those few years. So
6 years, 7 points per game.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to go back and forth. So I just went first. Alex, you got the next one on the list, and I know you'll be excited about this one.
Hey, number 2, we got Bill Laimbeer, drafted in 1979, round 3, pick number 65. He was only with Cleveland for two seasons, but averaged 8.6 points per game and 7 rebounds. 14-year career. Yeah, the Prince of Darkness. What is there to say?
Darkness.
Yeah,
played with the Pistons, the bad boys.
That's the only bad thing about it, right? Is he went from the Cavs to the Pistons. During that time period, it doesn't get much worse than that.
Yeah, but again, the Cavs are credited at least drafting him. They didn't hold on to him for very long. I forget who they traded him for. We talked about it on this podcast not too long ago. When I had one of the Cavs media guides, they brought in somebody of significance. But yeah, they decided to move him in a trade, and he turned out to be a very hated player, right? He's the Draymond Green of that era and then some, but he went on to have a good career, and the Cavs get credited with drafting him in 1979.
Not any sort of transcendent player, but definitely a well-known player for his part in the violence of the
sure.
that era of the NBA, right? The physical.
Yeah. I hear it all the time. People 40 and older. I miss the old era. Now you can't even touch somebody with getting a foul. You go look at highlight videos of that, or like 1980s fights or something like that. You're gonna see some Bill Laimbeer ones in there with the Bulls and the Celtics, and I think there was one incident where he like elbowed Mark Price or something like that in the face or something crazy like that.
Gave him the forearm,
in the forearm, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So plenty of Bill Laimbeer footage out there. Not much of him in a Cavs uniform, unfortunately, but definitely deserved to be on this list. Round 3, pick number 65.
Nice. Actually, I just found he was traded by the Cleveland Cavaliers with Kenny Carr to the Detroit Pistons for Phil Hubbard, Paul Mokeski, and a 1982 first-round pick, which later became John Bagley.
There you go. Bags! That's a good... That's. I hate to say it, Alex. It's a good trade. That's a good trade. Hubbard was solid. Bagley, man, I got to figure out a way to get him on a list one of these days for something. Underrated point guards or something like that in Cavs history. Bags was great. But yeah, that's a solid trade.
Cool.
So the next guy should be a little bit more of a familiar name, perhaps, depending on your Cavs basketball knowledge here. But now we're up to 1985, round 2, pick number 45, Hot Rod Williams. The Cavs just showed Hot Rod Williams some love a couple days ago. They were doing some tweets about the draft and stuff like that, and they threw a couple second-round picks out there, and they did a tweet around Hot Rod Williams. And Hot Rod Williams played 9 years with the Cavs. He averaged just shy of 13 points, 7 rebounds per game. Played 13 years in the NBA. He spent his last 3 years with the Phoenix Suns, if you may remember that. And his career averages was 11 points and 6.8 rebounds. Very solid career for a second rounder. Definitely deserves
absolutely.
to be on this list.
Very good all-around player.
Yep.
He's on some of those quite very good, entertaining early Cavs teams. Early for us, right?
Early for us, right. But he was part of that late 80s, early 90s Cavs team. And that was a great era, and he was a part of that. And man, the Cavs just got so lucky with their draft picks. They drafted him in 85, and then they took Brad Daugherty in 86. Mark Price comes over in a trade in 86. Ron Harper's in the mix in there somewhere.
86?
That's 86.
That leads us to our next guy here. Johnny Newman, drafted 1986. Round 2, pick number 29. He was only with Cleveland for 2 years, but he averaged 5.5 points per game, 1.3 rebounds. He had a 16-year career.
It's impressive, right? I mean, he's not a name that you hear brought up a lot when you hear Cavs basketball players. But the reason why I put him on this list was because that 16-year career, and he ended up averaging 11 points and a couple rebounds per game. So
I think he bounced around a lot. He ended up on a lot of different teams.
He did. He bounced around. I mean, he was, I think, a small forward, maybe power forward, and kind of played between those two positions. And he actually had 2 different stints with the Cavs. The Cavs drafted him. I forget what year he came back to the Cavs. It might have been like 95, 98. Okay. 98, I knew it was somewhere in the mid to late 90s. And, he's not so much on this list because of his time with the Cavs, but just the fact that he had a 16-year career and, to say that I averaged double digits in the NBA after a 16-year career is a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, looking at his career stats here, it's pretty impressive for a guy that never seemed to found a home on one team, right?
Right.
He averaged for sure 46% field goal percentage. Yeah. Overall, pretty solid stats.
Right. So the next guy on the list was drafted the following year in 1987. This is a player that I never hear Cavs fans really ever talk about. And it's probably because a lot of people, don't really remember him being here. And it certainly wasn't his best years were here. But Chris Dudley, round 4, pick number 75. 3 years with Cleveland, averaged 3.5 points, 3.3 rebounds. Went on to also have a 16-year career, averaged 4 points, 6.2 rebounds. Now, those aren't very impressive numbers, but what I remember from Chris Dudley was he came up in a heck of an era of centers. Mm-hmm. David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Patrick Ewing, Mutombo. Chris Dudley had to guard them all, and he probably was on the losing end a lot of those times, but he was solid in Portland. He was solid in New York, had a solid 16-year career. And a lot of Cavs fans, again, probably didn't realize that he spent his first 3 years here in Cleveland. I cannot find a single Cavs card of him, Alex. It's pissing me off.
Oh, interesting.
I can't find a single Cavs card of him.
There's got to be.
There's got to be
one. 3 seasons? Yeah, there's got to be. I remember.
We're talking 87. We're talking 87. Cavs, I mean, like basketball cards are, full swing by now,
Yeah. Well, 87 was when he was drafted, but he was in the NBA for what? Oh, well, I mean, yeah, he was with the Cavs for what you said, 3 seasons?
3 seasons, right up until 90. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm still on the hunt.
There's got to be some 89 Fleer card of him there, Corey. You can find it with some sort of autograph jersey swatch.
Right. I'll trade it for your Bill Lambier auto when I find one.
Dude, I had the Lambier card laying here and I didn't even
You didn't
show
even
it
put it up.
when we did the
I'm
whole
telling you,
Lambier
Alex carries
segment.
it. He took it with him to Croatia. In his hey, I'm from America. Bill Lambier.
Yeah, I walk
Bill
around
Lambier.
like Lambier. You know this guy?
He's my cousin. That's what you should say. He's my uncle. There you go. He's my
This is
uncle.
my uncle. You know him, right?
Who we got next, Alex?
Oh, let's see. Next up is Chucky Brown. Drafted in 1989, round 2, 43rd pick. Spent 4 years in Cleveland. Averaged 7.2 points per game, 2.8 rebounds. Had a 13-year career. So what do you remember about Chucky Brown, Corey?
Kind of like Johnny Newman. Just the fact that he's not a household name, but he had a decent career in the NBA. And 4 years is a decent amount of time here. And he's, 7 points per game, 6 points for career. He's your bench player that just comes into the game and does what he does and managed to have a 13-year career out of it. And it's funny, I'm still playing 2K and doing the whole my NBA era. And I think I'm on the 1990 season right now. I actually picked up Chucky Brown because I'm trying to get as many former Cavs players on there as I can. And he comes into the game and he's solid. He gets some dunks for me, gets some rebounds and stuff like that. And just, again, not a household name, but went on to have a pretty solid career. And the Cavs drafted him, second round pick, 1989.
So, funny thing, I looked him up on Basketball Reference, right? And you know
Sure.
how it gives everybody's nickname. So,
see, if this is where I wish I could have went down further to get this type of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, Chucky Brown's nickname was Wild Thing. So I've got to wonder. I've just got to wonder. He spent 4 seasons in Cleveland.
Yep.
His nickname was Wild Thing. Are there any old Cleveland fans out there that are like, don't like Anderson Varejao being called Wild Thing because they're like, get off my lawn. That's Chucky Brown's nickname. You think that happens?
Would be awesome. That would be awesome.
That probably happens.
I wonder at what point he had that nickname. I wonder if it was before he even came into the NBA. Probably. It's probably one of those childhood things. That's still pretty funny, though.
I might need a Chucky Brown jersey and then yell at everybody that he was Wild Thing. He was original Wild Thing.
So the next one, Alex, 1997. This was a fond time in my memory for basketball.
Your boy.
Cavs basketball, because this was a fun era, in my opinion, the next couple years. Round 2, pick number 45, Cedric Henderson. Played 4 years with the Cavs, averaged 7.5 points, grabbed 3 rebounds per game. Shortly, he had a short NBA career, however, 5-year career, averaged 7.3 and basically the same numbers, 7.5 and 3 rebounds. I don't recall. I'm guessing it was due to some sort of injury or something like that, Alex. I don't remember what exactly happened, but what I do remember was that he had good size. He could score the ball. And the reason why I say I like this era is because this is the Cedric Henderson, Derek Anderson, Big Z, Brevin Knight, bring over Sean Kemp the following year in 98 squad. Mm-hmm. Wesley Person was still around. They take Indiana to the playoffs the following year in 98, the first year Kemp's here. So I just have very fond memories of this time. And Cedric Henderson, I like him, man. I was a fan. I wish he would have had a longer career, but while I was here, he was solid for us off the bench.
Yeah, same. This is the this is the era when I was listening to Cavs games on the radio every night. So just like you, very fond memories of this team. Cedric Henderson, yeah, he was a baller, man. I liked Cedric Henderson a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you got a bad one.
Yeah, I know you did this to me on purpose. I know
gave you
did.
Bill. Everything else
has
been bad, but I gave you Bill. So I gave you Lambier.
You gave me Bill, and then you gave me Johnny Newman, Chucky Brown, and now Carlos Boozer. Boo. He was our 2002 pick, round 2, pick number 35. He was only in Cleveland for 2 years. Is that right?
Yeah,
Only
why
two
was that,
seasons?
Alex? Yeah, because that's
Because
when
he's lying, conniving,
yeah.
backstabbing, doesn't keep his word, asks for more money, wants his contract redone, and then bails on his team. That's why.
Handshake deal, man. Never do
What
the
a
handshake.
putz. The booze cruise. That's all I remember. They called him
What
the
did he do
booze
while
cruise.
he was here though, Alex? What was his numbers?
12.6 points per game, 9 rebounds.
Had a solid career
That
too,
meant
didn't he?
nothing. It meant nothing.
Here's what upsets Cavs fans the most, and I'm right there with you. Right now, we talked about that 97, 98, 99 era. This was another era that was starting to be born, right? Because 2002 was before LeBron, but you have Carlos Boozer, DeJuan Wagner's here, Ricky Davis comes along, Darius Miles comes along, Big Z's still here, and LeBron. So what pisses off Cavs fans the most, and Boozer was a solid player, obviously, basically a double-double guy, right?
Who would have
You
had a
saw that
squad?
he could potentially have been that number 2 next to LeBron for that era. And that could have been a nice young up and coming team. And, he agrees verbally that he's going to stick around. But once the offseason came, Utah offers that contract. He's out of there, man. He's out of there. And he went on to have a 13-year career, pretty good career, 16 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. So what could have been, right? I get it.
What chucker?
moving along. 2003. Hey, we need some shooting on this team. So the Cavs in the second round, pick number 31, go with Jason Capono, part of the Headband Gang. Jason Capono, 1 year with Cleveland, 3.5 points, but shot 47% from three. He went on to have a 9-year career, averaged 6.7 points per game, and a career average of 43% from three. Now, he wasn't here very long in Cleveland, Alex, but he was a solid shooter. And a 9-year career is still something to be pretty proud of, considering, not a household name these days.
What
But
is it with the Cavs and giving up shooters, Corey? We had
I don't know.
Capono, we had Joe Harris, we had Danny Green.
And now they won't let
all
go.
we
They
need
won't
is
let go of
shooting,
their
man.
shooter like
All
Dylan
we
Windler.
need.
They won't let Windler fly.
They won't let him shoot the ball. They won't let him shoot the ball either. What's going on here?
I don't know.
All we need are some good shooters on this team, and we just keep giving them away.
Yeah.
Which leads me to our next draft here.
Here you go, Alex. This is a good one.
Daniel Boobie Gibson, 2006, round 2, pick number 42. He spent his whole career in Cleveland. 7-year career, 7.8 points per game, 40% from 3-point.
Yeah. I mean, if you were old enough to be a Cavs fan in 06, another good time. The Cavs were competitive, right? I think 06, 07 is when they started like their Washington Wizards, playoff battles and stuff like that. Boobie he's a fan favorite, right? It was very easy to like Boobie. Kind of has that baby face look, and he can shoot the ball, right? And kind of gave you that spark off the bench. And everybody loves Boobie. Boobie's still with the organ. I think he came back. I think he's with the Charge doing something. I think he's a shooting coach or a special coach. I think that just happened last year. So he's still with the organization. He still goes to Cavs games. Had a short NBA career. Again, most likely to injuries. I don't remember. But yeah, everybody loves Boobie.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm surprised he spent his whole career in Cleveland. Was it because of injury, or we released him and nobody else picked him up? I'm trying to remember what happened.
That's what I wish I would have figured out a little bit more of. Yeah, what happened there? Was it? I have a hard time believing that we released him and nobody picked him up. I'm willing to bet it was probably because injuries or something like that was why nobody picked him up, and then he ended up hanging it up. But I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure.
It looks like
something to research.
Traded for his pick. Traded by the Philadelphia 76ers as a future 2006 second-round draft pick with Lee Nalen to the Cleveland Cavaliers for a 2006 second-round draft pick. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't say. Basketball Reference doesn't say what happened to him either.
Got it.
Hmm.
Okay.
All
Daniel
right.
Gibson, 2006.
Booby.
So the next one, sticking with the shooters, 2009, round 2, pick number 46, Danny Green.
Speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil. He was
And he's back on the team. Yeah.
He was just guarding Julius Randle in the 2023 playoffs for some reason. So Danny Green only spent 2 years in Cleveland. Now, by this point in 2009, the Cavs go to the finals. Remember, 2009 was against the Spurs. They get swept in the finals by Tim Duncan, Ginobili, Parker. But LeBron takes a very, arguably the worst team ever to the, finals. That always comes up all the time. Danny Green's on that team. But the problem is Danny Green is Bates this year, right? Danny Green wasn't getting any play time because we're trying to win. He had Boobie Gibson in front of him, Delonte West, guys like that. So Danny Green wasn't getting any play time. He was the guy that was always in the photos. Remember when they used to do the family photos? LeBron would take out the camera. They would all do poses on the sideline.
Yeah.
He was the guy dancing on the sideline.
LeBron would act like he's taking a picture.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he only played a total of 28 games, and that's including the last season that he played with us. Because remember, he was injured and stuff like that, so he didn't play a ton with us this past season either. 3.3 points per game, 37% from 3 with the Cavs. But the reason why he's on this list is because he had a 14-year career, was on a lot of, he was a contributor on several teams, was an NBA champion, averaged 8.5 points, and for his career is shooting 43% from 3.
Yeah, with the Spurs.
And he's still playing. Playing. Right? So I don't know if he's going to be back in Cleveland. I highly doubt it. That was an experiment that I don't know if they'll continue that experiment or not. I don't know if Danny would want to. He might want to try to move on. I haven't heard any chatter about that yet. But Danny Green, 2009.
All right. Next up, Jay Crowder. 2012, round 2, pick number 34.
Now, real quick.
1 year with Cleveland. Go ahead.
Yep, real quick. So people would be like, "What? The Cavs did draft him, but they traded him on draft night to Dallas." So the 1 year that you're about to talk about wasn't his rookie year. Right. It was years later when LeBron was here. But go ahead.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about Crowder. Man.
Oh, you don't like Jay?
No, I don't like Jay. I've never been a Crowder fan. I think that guy can't play basketball worth nothing. I feel like he's just an agitator, man. He's like more like modern day Bill Laimbeer, but does a lot less, honestly. I feel like he just gets on teams, talks smacks, pushes the other players around, and basically just plays garbage basketball.
8.5 points while I was here, 3.3 rebounds. 11 years in the NBA now, Alex, 9.5 points, 4.3 rebounds. Despite, I'll say this, when Crowder was here, he was a guy a lot of fans bagged on, and I'm not saying they weren't justified in that.
Did they?
Remember,
I don't know.
They did. They bagged on him. He came over in the Kyrie Irving trade along with Isaiah Thomas, and remember that whole debacle. And I think the reason why fans bagged on him was because they had higher expectations, and he just didn't perform to that.
Mm-hmm.
But Jay Crowder's the Larry Hughes. He's your Colin Sexton. He's your LeVert. He was just the guy at the time.
I wouldn't compare him to any of those guys. He's more
but he was the guy. He was the guy in the team that fans had to bitch about. You know what I mean? It was Jay Crowder, right? And when his name comes up to this day, a lot of fans have the same reaction you did. You just did.
For a different reason, though. I mean, I don't know. Like some of those players you named, I feel like can play ball. Jay Crowder can't play ball, man. He's just a fake tough guy. He's just in there pushing people around. He'll catch a pass. He doesn't do nothing. He's dead weight. He's like poor man Draymond Green.
There you go. All right, let's wrap it up. One more, Alex. 2014, round 2, pick number 33, ending with a guy that a lot of Cavs fans would love to take back and wish was on the roster right now, Joe Harris.
Yeah.
Joe Harris. Played 2 years with Cleveland, only a total of 56 games, only averaged 2.5 points, 36% from 3. But he's on this list because his better days were after Cleveland. He's currently in Portland. I think he's been with Portland the other 7 years. And he's on his 9th year, 10.5 points, 43% from 3. And 2014, I think that was the Cavs were in a decline by then. I think that was part of the dark years, right? I think LeBron was gone. Jamario Moon was hopping around, and they didn't know what to do with Joe. they moved on from him,
Mm-hmm.
And we all say we need a shooter pretty bad, and Joe would have been a good one to keep around a little bit longer. Same with Danny Green. Those two would be the two I would have liked out of the 4 shooters. Out of Joe, Danny Green, Boobie, and Capono, I would have went Danny Green and Joe Harris in their heydays.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, totally. Yeah, that's rough that we let go both Danny Green and Joe Harris when we need a shooter during those eras that we had those players so much, and we just didn't keep them long enough to develop them and see their potential.
They could have been the new Mark Price and Steve Kerr backcourt.
Yep.
The original Splash Brothers. They could have been, the new era. Instead it was Steph and Clay. So
we're guilty of not holding on to these guys, but then you got Dylan Windler, who we've been holding on to forever. And we still don't know if he's going to be the shooter we need.
Well, I think the Cavs got to make a decision on him this offseason on whether they're going to keep him around or not. And I think people are going to riot if they do. But
I mean, I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know.
Well, there it is, Cavs fans. It's 11 second round or later draft picks in Cavs history. Hopefully there was a couple names in there that you recognize or you're shaking your head. Yep, totally agree. I remember. Brought you back some memories and all that kind of stuff. But that was a fun little segment. And we'll see. Going back to Bates, Alex, where's Bates going to show up on? Is he going to show up on this list? Or is he going to show up with Kay Felder on the other list with second round picks?
Ooh.
All right.
Damn.
So we'll see here in a couple years. Right?
I like Kay Felder. I thought he was
I did
decent.
too.
He was just a little undersized, man. He had the skills. He had the court vision. He could shoot the ball. Yeah, he liked to lose his dribble. He had a lot of turnovers, but
Kay will be on our shortest.
I take Kay Felder over Jay Crowder.
Earl Boykins and Earl and Kay, and he'll get his day, but today's not his day for this list. All right.
I got a question here for you, Corey.
Sure.
All right, NBA Summer League roster 2022 or 2023. Which one are you? Do you feel like your excitement level was higher for the 2022 Summer League or this Summer League?
You know what? Last year it was kind of fun because the Cavs did something we didn't think they were going to do, right? They drafted 3 second-round draft picks, and we all got to watch Luke Travers, however you say his name.
Travers,
Remember him? And Mobley looked, solid.
Isaiah?
He was the brother of Evan, so that kind of brought some dynamic to it and stuff like that, right? So I feel like
Abaji. Ochai
and Abaji, right? So I feel like last year, I'm not going to lie, there was a little bit more excitement around it because it's like, holy crap, the Cavs got four rookies running around out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
To where this year you only got a single guy, and we were in a different place last year than what we are now. Like you said earlier in the episode, we're in win now mode. I don't care if Bates goes off for 30 in these games. He's still, the chances of him earning that spot is still slim. You know what I mean? So and even if he does, I don't know if he's going to crack the rotation anytime soon once the season starts. So,
and they had Nembhard too. Remember Nembhard?
Yeah.
They gave him a couple minutes. He was an experiment.
Yeah, and this is what this is. Anything at 49 was going to be an experiment, and Bates will have his chance to shine. Summer League starts here right around the corner. That's another thing that I love now that the offseason is finally here. You had the draft, you have the BS rumors, which we got to talk about one of them at least here before we cut this episode off. But now we got Summer League basketball. So it's just, it's not watching Donovan Mitchell run around out there with Garland and Mobley, but it's something. It's somebody wearing a Cavs uniform that I can go watch and fill that itch that, we all been feeling at this point for probably a while now.
I haven't seen a summer league roster yet, but I've got
I
to
haven't either.
imagine
This week,
have
probably.
you?
No, but I gotta
Okay.
imagine this week. I'm thinking this week we'll see one because the 7th is like 2 weeks away, right?
So
The
I
4th of
gotta
July is
imagine
coming up, and yeah.
I gotta imagine Travers will be back for it. Travers,
Oh, that'd be awesome if he came back. I don't know
Isaiah
if he will or
Mobley, I'm
not.
sure Isaiah will be back for it. And of course, Emoni Bates,
Yep.
Craig Porter Jr., Wendell
Who we just
Green
picked up.
Jr.
Yep.
Who am I missing? I think there was
You're
somebody else.
missing the other guy that the Cavs just signed.
Yeah,
This is
damn
kind of
it.
interesting. Larry Nance Sr.'s youngest son, Pete Nance.
That's it.
That's a cool little story.
That'll be fun to watch.
We had Larry Sr., we had Larry Jr., and now, another Nance gets a shot. Again, the odds are against them, but it'll be cool watching another Nance run around with the Cavs uniform on. And I was looking him up before we jumped on here. Naturally, he has a little bit of size. He's 6'10", and we'll see what he could do. He's another power forward type player, and hey, I'll be rooting for him. Right?
Sam Merrill.
Yeah, Merrill should be running around.
He should be on
there.
the summer league. So there's a good 5, 6, 7 players we just named that should bring a little excitement to the summer league for us.
Sure. And the Cavs will be playing five summer league games, I think, and then they always have the tournament, and all that stuff. So that's right around the corner, Alex. It'll be cool to be able to flip on the tube and see some Cavs basketball.
You said July 7th?
July 7th is the first game against...
Are those on ESPN?
So it's on ESPN2, NBA TV, or ESP News. I have no idea what ESP News is. But they play the Brooklyn Nets on July 7th, Toronto Raptors on July 9th. If Kyle Lowry's there, I hope somebody throws a shoe at his head. July 10th, Memphis Grizzlies. We'll see if Ja's there watching them. I don't think he can because he's suspended. July 13th, Chicago Bulls. Sorry, Lonzo Ball. And then July 17th will be the championship game. So if the Cavs do well, in the tournament and everything like that, potentially that would go all the way to the 17th. But hey, the 7th to the 13th, you got a week of Cavs basketball to turn on ESPN2 or whatever. So that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That should be exciting.
Yeah, definitely. So let's wrap it up with some of the rumors that have been going on, Alex. And again, another fun time right now too is just watching like Cavs Twitter implode. Because it was a little bit quiet for a little while, right? Waiting for the NBA to be over with and stuff. But the one that I want to bring up was the most recent one, and it's laughable, which is why I want to bring it up. But supposedly the Cavs had some interest in Tobias Harris from the 76ers. Been around for a while, can score the ball, has decent size, he's had a fine career. Couple years too late to be going after him. But the 76ers for Harris wanted Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and a draft pick. And that's just not going to work, Alex.
I hope Kobe Altman laughed in their face. I hope he just laughed in the phone and like slowly pulled the phone away from his mouth as he laughed and then hung it up.
Like I've even seen like 76ers fans like laughing and making memes off of it and stuff like that. Like it's just so bogus and ridiculous of a request.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing it's true. It's so ridiculous.
I've seen plenty of articles on it and stuff. It's not just a Woj tweet or something like there's actually been articles about it. But yeah, part of me wonders if it's actually true or if it was just like the 76ers trolling the Cavs. I don't know, but that's probably the best rumor I've heard so far this offseason.
Yeah.
Was there any other ones that caught your attention with the Cavs, Jared Allen?
No, not really. I mean, I've seen the Jared Allen stuff. There's no way we're parting with Jared Allen. We got him on a steal of a deal. He's a kick-ass center. If anything, we need to find a good backup for him.
Yeah, I think it's too early to talk that. I get the appeal of, hey, Allen can't shoot, Mobley can't shoot, we're too clogged down by the rim, you need to get a stretch four. Well, you let the stretch four go, Kevin Love, who is a free agent this offseason, by the way. But yeah, I agree. You can't give up on Jared Allen yet just because he had let's be honest, he had a bad, playoff series against the Knicks. But so did Donovan Mitchell, so did Evan Mobley, so did a lot of other Cavs players. And you locked him up for 5 years at $20 million a year when you signed him a year or so back. There's no way you're doing it this early. Once the trade deadline comes up, you're going to hear his name again. He's going to be that next guy that's going to constantly be in rumors. And really because it makes sense, right? Out of the core four, Allen's the first guy you would move, right? And Allen feels like the guy that could potentially bring something back. You could trade Chetty Osman, but you're not going to get something significant back. You trade Jared Allen, you could get a really nice piece back. So I see why Cavs fans would be potentially excited and willing to move someone like Allen. But I'm with you, Alex. I'm keeping him around at least for this season yet, and let's see where we're at.
He's the first of the core four you would consider moving.
I would. Who would you? You moving Mobley? You moving Garland? You moving Mitchell? You afraid Mitchell's going to bolt to New York? You're moving Mitchell, aren't you? You're bringing Sexton back. Colin Sexton is available per reports. The Utah Jazz have made Colin Sexton available. And get this. The reason why, supposedly, is because they like Abashi better. Poor Sexton.
The Jazz got a lot of good players. We got Donovan Mitchell, but it's not like we fleeced him at all. I mean, Abaji, Sexton, Lauri Markkanen. Sure. They got a good package. I think we would have done really well with those players. Probably, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I feel like we still would have gotten to the first round of the playoffs even with those players.
Who are you moving, though, out of the core four? Who's the first you would move if not Allen? I need to know this now.
I just had to think about it.
Okay. You're going Allen.
Probably Allen.
Yeah, totally. Right. So I get it. And like I said, he's going to be, this is where I feel bad for him because his name is going to be in trade rumors probably the rest of the time that he is in a Cavs uniform until he is finally moved at some point. But for right now, keep him around, man. Twin Towers, keep him around.
Yeah.
Another one that I thought was kind of laughable a little bit was the Kyle Kuzma one. So Kuzma, Washington is in a fire sale mode. They traded Porzingis. They traded Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. And Kyle Kuzma opts out of his contract, right? And the reports were that he wants $30 million a season. And a lot of Cavs fans, were saying, he'd be a great fit. I would take him over LeVert, all that kind of stuff. And he's a solid player, don't get me wrong, but $30 million a year, come on. That just ain't happening. And not only because, the Cavs don't have the cap for that, you could do a sign and trade, but even then still, what did LeVert make last year? I think 17. I think he made 15 the first year and 17. That's twice the amount of LeVert. Is he twice as good as LeVert?
No.
No, I don't know. And $30 million coming in a season for 3-4 years if you do a sign and trade, I don't know.
Yeah. I like LeVert. I think a lot of people think that he underperformed, but I liked him. I think
Cavs still got to make a decision.
He did what he needed to do.
Yeah. They got to make a decision on LeVert yet. I think they will here soon. I think they kind of have to. And I'll kind of be surprised if they cut him loose for nothing. I think if anything, they'll keep him around and he'll be another name you'll hear in trade rumors till the end of time too. But yeah, the Kuzma thing, I don't see it happening. I haven't even heard of any teams like it could be behind closed doors, but I haven't seen anything publicly out there from Shams or Woj or anybody like that. Like, hey, he's in negotiations with, there's 3 teams in the runnings. Like, I haven't heard really anything since that report came out about the $30 million per year. So I will say this, the Cavs did make a good decision though last week, Alex, with Lamar Stevens. They picked up the option on him. It was a no-brainer. I think it was like a $2 million.
Yeah, $1.9
$2 million, $1.9 or something like that. That was a no-brainer. Lamar would have been on this list if he was second round, but he was undrafted. Remember, that'd be another fun one to do. Is an undrafted list. Lamar would be on there. A couple other players as well. But Lamar will be back next year, and I thought that was a good call by the Cavs.
Yeah.
So, any other rumors or anything else that you can think of?
I mean, I've been hearing a little bit about maybe the Cavs going after Harrison Barnes, but I mean, it's just...
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
Whatever. We'll see. But again, right now, Cavs fans, it's exciting. Summer League here right around the corner. Also, free agency will start here soon. The Cavs don't have a ton of money, but they have a little bit of money, right? And it'll be interesting to see what the Cavs can do with that money. Really, Bates, that's great. That's fine. Bring back Stevens. That's great. That's fine. But, what are the Cavs going to do? What piece or pieces are they going to add on that are going to actually contribute to this roster next year to make them better? And I don't think we've seen it yet with the moves they made so far. So hopefully the Cavs can do something in free agency, get creative, make some sort of trade that makes an impact. And this is the exciting time of the offseason where the roster, goes through a little bit of an overhaul.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm not expecting anything shocking, but I didn't see that Donovan Mitchell trade coming either. So
exactly,
we'll see what happens.
All right, Alex, let's wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. I want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, you want to let them know where they can follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on Twitter at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, Tumblr, and watch our podcast on YouTube. You can see Corey's home cut haircuts that he's doing. It'll get you coming back.
My wife was making fun of me the other day. She's like, "Your hair looks like ass."
Jeez, right, man, cut my hair. You gonna take that from her? Yeah. All right.
Hey. Next time I'll have a fresh cut for you guys. All right. All right. Well, there it is, Cavs fans. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.